From the most trusted names in local news, KDPG Sunday Edition.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the KDPG Sunday Edition. I'm Ken Rice. 1 week ago yesterday, unspeakable tragedy came to the Pittsburgh neighborhood of Squirrel Hill. Inside the Tree of Life Synagogue, where members of 3 different congregations were praying during their holiest day of the week, the Sabbath, a heavily armed gunman burst into the building, reportedly screaming, "The Jews must die." He opened fire on congregants, killing 11, wounding another 6, including 4 Pittsburgh police officers. Those killed include a married couple and 2 brothers. It's being called the worst anti-Semitic attack in American history. After a gunfight, police arrested Robert Bowers of Baldwin, described as a loner with a social media profile filled with anti-Semitism and hate. As Squirrel Hill began to learn of this overwhelming tragedy, Taylor Alderdice High School students were among those to organize a vigil at the corner of Forbes and Murray, and KDKA's Pam Serrano was there.
The community, which was the site of a horrifying mass murder earlier, became the site of a mass gathering of love.
We all have so much more in common than we have to differentiate us. And I think nights like tonight remind us of that. Candles illuminated the darkness, music filled the air, and community compassion was everywhere. The shooting that killed 11 at Tree of Life Synagogue was just blocks away from the grassroots service that drew nearly 1,000 people. Cody Murphy lives near the shooting, and a man fleeing the bullets took refuge in her home.
He's just trying to call his wife and his kids, just trying to let everyone know he was okay because he didn't have his phone because it is Shabbat. Murphy and others who are Taylor Alderdice High School students felt a need to be together and organize the candlelight service. Having people to talk to and communicate with is just so helpful for people during this time because you want to do something, but there's not really anything you can do other than just share your love with others. We felt like something had to happen. If we felt like this, then how did the community feel? Everyone here echoing that sentiment, saying they had a powerful need to be together, including this family who all came together and described the moment they found out.
When everything hit, I ran to the congregation because most of my congregation does not use a cell phone on Shabbat. And so I didn't think that they knew what was going on. And so I dropped him off and I ran in, and they were on lockdown, and they welcomed me in, and they had their doors open for anybody on Shady who needed refuge.
Congressman Mike Doyle was among those attending as well.
Our hearts are broken for the Jewish community here. This was a senseless hate crime. People were, in a house of worship.
Pam Serrano, KDKA-TV News.
On Thursday, Robert Bowers was charged in a 44-count federal indictment. He pleaded not guilty. This morning, how our community is coming to grips with this tragedy. A little later, we'll be joined by Yvonne Maher, Executive Vice President of Development and Donor Services at the Pittsburgh Foundation. Its Critical Needs campaign has pledged $150,000 to match donations to organizations supporting victims of the Tree of Life shooting. Right now, though, we welcome Rabbi Ronald Simons, Executive Director of the Center for Loving Kindness and Civic Engagement at Pittsburgh's Jewish Community Center, the Reverend Liddy Barlow, Executive Minister at Christian Associates of Southwest Pennsylvania, and the Reverend Dr. John C. Welch, Vice President for Community Engagement and Student Services at the Pittsburgh Theological Seminary. He's also a chaplain for Pittsburgh police and their families. David Sherman is away this week, so we welcome back Jim Iovino, Deputy Managing Editor of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Jim, nice to have you along, and welcome to each of you. We don't bring you on to answer easy questions, so we'll start with a hard one. I'm sure people have asked you, perhaps many people have over the past week, as people who have dedicated your lives to religion, where was God? Rabbi, where was God last Saturday morning?
So I know that God is all around us. And at moments like this, not only at immense community tragedy, but even at moments of personal struggle, I follow the teachings of Rabbi Harold Kushner from When Bad Things Happen to Good People, where he teaches us that the question to ask at this moment is not where was God, but what can we do now? So I have seen God through the actions of people. Let me describe one instance. I serve on the Chevra Kadisha, which is the society that helps to prepare people for burial. And on Monday night, I was getting ready to join my team to do that. I was in the back of a funeral home, and all of a sudden there was a loud knock on the outside door. I said, "Who is it?" I was the only one in the room. The woman said, "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to help." I brought over a funeral director. It's not my building. She opened up the door. We stood together for safety's sake, and a little woman thrust $1,000 in cash in her face and said, "This is for the married couple." She said, "What's your name?" She said, "No names." "Can we give you a hug?" She said, "No hugs," and she left into the darkness. We closed the door, and the funeral director, who I had never met before, and I spent 5 minutes sobbing in each other's arms. That's where God is.
Understood. I understand that viewpoint. Reverend Barlow, let me put it to you this way. We're taught, many of us are taught, growing up, in whatever faith it may be, that God watches over us and protects us. That's a little different. I understand what you're saying, that God manifests at certain times in different ways. Let's talk about families struggling to explain this to children. Sure. If children are taught that God watches over them and protects them, how do you explain what happened Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately there are no words, right? This is an unspeakable tragedy. It's one that calls us to tears and sighing more than it does to any rational explanation. I know with my own children, who are 8 years old and 5 years old, as this was happening, they were preparing for what was to have been an active shooter drill at their elementary school on Monday. So we live in a world where terrible things happen. And we simply say to our children that in this world where terrible things happen, there are far, far more good people than there are people who do acts of evil. And I think God watches over us, yes, but more than that, God is among us. God is not remote from the people in the world that God has made. You know, God is actively with us. We are, none of us guaranteed safety, none of us guaranteed even the next moment, but we are guaranteed that we live here in this world, and I believe in eternity, in the presence of God.
Reverend, your thoughts?
Well, I have to echo what Reverend Liddy said. You know, we don't serve a God that orchestrates humanity like a video game characters, but we do see the evidence of God through loving kindness of individuals. And the example that Rabbi gave, I think, is a perfect one. And so God expects us to sort of embody his loving kindness, his justice, his love one to another. And so while we may not enjoy what we see happening in life, it is not, what happens does not speak to the totality of humankind, but definitely are blips in our experiences that we need to pay attention to. But in our tradition, our Christian tradition, we understand the scripture says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And so, you know, there is life beyond this one that we all long for within a Christian tradition. But while we still live in this world, yeah, there are bad things that are going to happen, but we have to surround ourselves with love.
Jim, before I let you jump in, let me just mention we intended to have Wazi Muhammad from the Islamic Center of Pittsburgh, who spoke, some of you did, at the community meeting, the community gathering at Soldiers and Sailors last Sunday. He and his organization have raised, I think, close to $200,000 to help Tree of Life victims and the wider Jewish community. To me, that was extremely moving. He stood up and he said, "What can we do for you? Do you want us to stand outside while you're praying? If that will make you feel safer, we'll be there." And he said, "You've done it for us." And I just thought that was a beautiful sentiment. I'd like to know what each of you have seen over the past week that has given you the most hope. What has moved you the most that has happened in response to the horror? Reverend, you want to start?
Well, as I said on Sunday evening, this reminds me of how the city responded to the tragedy when we had the 3 fallen officers back in 2009, that the city shows its resilience and we come out in support of one another. So seeing that moved me, but also what moved me was how people in my own community, the African American community, also stepped up to support those that lost lives in the Jewish community. And as you know, the African American community has been consistently and pervasively affected by violence. And so to set aside our own traumatic experiences, to be there with those in the Jewish community that are experiencing their own is what moved me.
Okay, Reverend Barlow?
I think in the future, when I remember the last few days, and I think I will remember them always, I'm going to remember umbrellas. I'm going to remember finding a place to park on Saturday evening and beginning to walk towards the intersection of Forbes and Murray with hundreds, thousands of people, all of us walking under our umbrellas in the same direction with purpose to be together at that first vigil. And I'm going to remember Sunday evening. I was inside Soldiers and Sailors Hall, but I heard from friends that the whole lawn was filled with people, all the way back to Fifth Avenue, and that out on the lawn, as people stood and listened to the feed from inside the hall, they were sharing their umbrellas with strangers so that children could be sheltered from the rain. And I think that says so much about our community, that we are in this together, and we're going to take care of each other.
Rabbi?
So like John and Liddy, I agree. It's the outpouring from across the community, from across the nation, from across the world. But actually what I'm going to remember is the time before Saturday. Because the reason why we were able to do this is because of the nature of the relationships that we have across the different neighborhoods, the different faith communities, the different ethnic communities, racial communities in Pittsburgh. We were able to put together Sunday night's event, not by having to call people and introducing ourselves, but by having to call friends. And it just came together like that, because we know that we are better and stronger together, and all of the work that we have been doing over the course of the years got us ready, unfortunately, for what happened this week.
I think we have time for one question if you want to get in before the break, Jim.
Yeah, just real quick. What were some of the most surprising things that you've heard from the community, either during the vigils or just one-on-one with people that, you know, you don't really know what to expect from people in these kind of situations, but like, is there something that really stands out to you that, like, wow, I didn't even think of that myself in these kind of situations?
So I can begin with the JCC. As it happened, I was on my way to the JCC as the police cars were beginning to make their way over to Tree of Life. I had no clue what was happening. I was saying, oh, it's something big. I stepped foot in and everyone knew immediately. And what I was amazed at is that not only the staff of the JCC, but the entire community at large, from government officials and law enforcement and then beyond, how it is that we all mobilized and lived up to our God-given potential, whether that's professional or it's an avocation, and people are just there for each other. It's amazing to see the gifts that people can give when push comes to shove.
That's a great comment, a great reflection on the groundwork that had been done in Pittsburgh and how well this community works together. Thank you very much. We will take a break. When we continue how you can help the victims of the Tree of Life shooting, we'll be joined by Yvonne Maher of the Pittsburgh Foundation in just a moment.